Welcome everyone. We're just getting everything set up here. Evelina and myself will be starting soon. We'll be quite a big group today. We're expecting a few more people to join the meeting. Evelina's just joined now. All right. Okay, so today we're learning about stress management. Okay. And can I just get a thumbs up from everyone that you can hear me, see the slides, that everything's good? Yes, all right, perfect. Thank you. So we're looking at managing stress in the workplace, and I'll just be doing a quick introduction with you guys, and Evelina will then take over and do the main presentation. Okay. So the topics for today is definition of terms, factors which explain workplace stress, stress-related symptoms, factors influencing individual perception of stress, what is stress management, and managing workplace stress. Okay, so that's what you'll be learning about today. It's a quick 1-hour session, hopefully very few interruptions. Okay. So I'd like you guys all to get comfortable in your seats, relax your muscles a little bit, and we're going to do a quick body scan so that you aren't stressed during this presentation. Okay. So take a moment to close your eyes, right, and focus a little bit on your toes. Wiggle your toes, feel the muscles moving in there. Then focus on the rest of your foot. How's it feeling? Are your shoes comfortable? If you're barefoot like you. Feel in your calves, moving up to your knees. Just acknowledge where your muscles are at the moment and how your body is feeling. Okay. Move up to your thighs and then up to your bum. How's that doing? Your lower back.
Hello, hello.
Your abdomen. Hi, Lucy. Then feel how your chest is doing. Feel the rise and fall of your breath. Feel your heart beating. How are your shoulder muscles doing? Are they a little bit stiff today? Just acknowledge where they all are. Your upper arms, all the way down to your hands. How are they feeling? Give those fingers a wiggle. Feel your neck, stretch it out to the side. Any stiffness there? We carry a lot of our stress in our necks. All right, feel your ears, your cheek muscles, your nose, your eyes. How are all those muscles doing? Okay, now I want you to go back to your toes. Once you've reached your toes, take a moment and let them relax. Let them melt into your shoes or into the floor. Just feel the skin and the muscles relaxing in your feet, in your calves, and your whole legs, your bum. Melted into the seat, completely relaxed. Go to your lower back. We also carry a lot of tension in our lower backs. In your lower back, let those muscles relax. Feel comfortable. Let all those stresses go up to your tummy and just let everything go. When you go to your chest, take in a deep breath through your nose and out through your mouth. And relax. Now we're up to those tense shoulders. Give them a stretch, roll them backwards. Oh, feel those muscles that are inevitably tight. Let them relax too. Consciously give them permission to relax. Go through your arms, your hands, your fingers. Let them melt into your chair. Go back to your neck and just let that slowly calm down. Let those face muscles relax too. Your mouth, your cheek, your eyes. Let that relaxation fill your whole body. Take a few more deep breaths, and then Evelina will be taking over. I hope you guys enjoyed that and have a very relaxing session today. Thanks.
Thank you, Nicole. Hi everyone. Can you all hear me? Just a thumbs up if you can hear me, see me, all loud and clear. Awesome, great stuff. So today we are discussing stress management, right, in the workplace. Okay. Sorry. Right, so before we continue with everything, so the first step that we need to obviously do is define our terms, which is what exactly is stress. Okay, so what do we understand by the meaning of stress? According to this definition here, stress is the way human beings react both physically and mentally to changes, events, and situations in their lives. Also, that people experience stress in different ways and for different reasons. So something that may stress you out, that same thing might not stress the next person out, okay? So the reaction is entirely based on your perception of the event or that situation. So it's how you perceive something to either be stressful or not, okay? So before we just get into this whole thing of stress, there is something that's called eustress or good stress, okay? So this results from a positive view of an event or situation. So imagine you are about to do something really exciting, like going on a fun adventure or trying out a new activity that you really like, right? So you might feel a mix of excitement and a little bit of nervousness, but it's a good feeling overall. So that is called good stress, right? That little nervousness you experience when you're about to do something or experience something that you really like, for instance, right? So good stress, eustress, is the type of stress that comes from doing things that makes you feel very excited, for instance, or very motivated, okay? So it's like a little boost that helps you do your best and achieve your goals, right? So think of it as the positive side or the positive side of stress, right? Which kinds of makes you feel alive and ready for the next challenge, right? So as much as we perceive stress to be something very negative, there's also a positive side of stress which kinds of boosts us or motivates us to kind of achieve our goals. right? So just remember, eustress is the cool side of stress that helps us grow and accomplish things, so that the next time you feel excitement and energy, you are actually experiencing the good side of stress. Okay, so now that we've mentioned that, what actually is stress in the workplace? I'm pretty sure all of us at a certain point in time, we've been experiencing, or we have experienced stress within our organizations. So what is stress in the workplace? So workplace stress is the harmful physical and emotional responses that can happen when there is conflict between job demands, when your job demands are way higher um, on the employee, and the amount of control an employee has over meeting these demands. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So imagine you are juggling a bunch of balls, right? These balls being your job tasks, your deadlines, maybe even your personal stuffs, for instance, right? Now, stress at the workplace is like adding more and more balls to your juggling edge. You already have this big, huge amount of balls that you're juggling with, and then they keep adding more and more and more, right? So this is when the pressure of everything you have to handle starts to make you feel like you're about to drop all the balls and mess up. Okay, so think about those times when your to-do list feels like it's just not ending at all, or when your manager or your supervisor or your boss asks you something, or to do something as soon as possible while you already have other stuff to do. They still ask you to do something urgently, right? So that's when your heart starts racing, you start feeling a bit of pressure. So that's when you start experiencing stress, right? Okay. So we do have a variety of factors which actually explains workplace stress. So just meaning that workplace stress can be influenced by a variety of things, right? So we did identify 6 factors, but there are a lot more other factors that can cause stress in the workplace. And after I've kind of explained the 6, we will kind of delve through what factors there are, or what factors you're currently experiencing that is causing your workplace stress. Okay, right. So the first one being demands, right? So the level of workload and the expectations placed on employees can actually contribute to workplace stress. So high demands, this is now when it comes to unrealistic deadlines, right? This can overwhelm you as an employee, right? Or for an example, if I can give an example, a salesperson, right? Who may have to meet monthly targets that are difficult to achieve due to economic situations. For instance, you're given this target, right? But we all know it's not really realistic to achieve. So that's when you also start stressing about it. Or for example, in my department, we always have to submit tenders, right? So we work together with BDO South Africa. So the team in South Africa, they actually send us all the documents that we need to submit through their site. But sometimes they do send us documents very late. I mean, at times we have 2 hours left to submit this proposals, and they send it like 2 hours before the due time, right? So what happens is, I mean, I start stressing out a lot because I don't have enough time to put everything together. I don't have enough time to print out, make sure everything is correct and review, right? That's when I start stressing out, right? So sometimes we just do not have enough time, or sometimes the deadlines are just a bit unrealistic. So that's when our stress level kind of increases, right? So another one is control. Okay, so this is the amount of control. So the amount of control that you have over your work and also decision making can impact your stress level, right? So this has a lot to do with now your autonomy and involvement in decision making, right? Sometimes you're given a task to do, but you don't entirely have control over it, right? You're told what to do, but sometimes you feel like that's not the correct way of doing it, or that's not the efficient way of doing it, but then you're being told that your job is not to think of how you're supposed to do it, but just do it as you have to do it or as you are told, right? So sometimes if you don't have control over your tasks or your roles or what you're performing within the organization, it kinds of sometimes brings up that stress levels, right? Then we also have relationships, okay? So this is now your interactions with your colleagues, your supervisor. It can also be clients, for instance. And we all know that if you do not have positive relationships with your co-workers or with your supervisor, you're most likely to always be stressed at work. So let's say if you are having conflict or you just have that lack of support from your supervisor, this also creates like a hostile working environment, right? So an employee who faces constant criticism from their supervisor or clashes with co-workers might experience heightened stress levels, okay? So another factor here is change, okay? So sometimes your organization is restructuring or downsizing or implementing new technological equipments, for instance, right? So this change can bring uncertainty and job insecurity, which also stresses you, or whereby you have to learn how to use these new processes and procedures put in place, and it is kind of confusing and difficult. It also stresses you out as an employee, right? So change can be one of it, and also your role. Sometimes our roles are a bit unclear, right? So your roles and responsibilities can also cause employee stress, right? So especially when you're not 100% sure of what your expectations are or what exactly it is that you need to achieve, or it's something that uncertainty also can cause a level of stress in an employee, okay? Then we have support. So the lack of support from your supervisor, the lack of support from your organization as a whole can also cause stress, because as an employee you need guidance, you need feedback, you need just that support for you to actually be efficient in your work. Okay, so those are just some of the factors that I've mentioned, but I know there are like a lot of factors that actually contributes to workplace stress. So my question is back to you. You can just type in the comment section or just unmute yourself and just speak to me. So what are the factors that contributes to you being stressed in your working environment at the moment? It can be one of the factors that I've just mentioned. It can also be anything different. What are any of the factors that causes stress in you, or stress levels within your working environment? Also, we can also, for instance, sometimes stress at work is also caused by external factors, things in our personal life. So it can also be something outside of the workplace that is causing a little bit of stress, or you being stressed. Okay, so Bianca mentioned that, sorry, let me just open that comments or the chat box. So Bianca is to meet deadlines. Definitely, meeting deadlines is a very stressful situation, and you constantly have to be on your feet, right? Okay, so we have someone from Human Resources saying that external people and not delivering assistance, right? Yes, external people or the relationships we have with external people can also cause stress, right? Being micromanaged with no proper managerial skills displayed by my immediate supervisor. And that's one of the biggest stressful situations, someone trying to micromanage you. So in the event of you trying to be a perfectionist or trying to be perfect in your job because you know someone is micromanaging you, causes so much stress that you end up even making more mistakes, right? So I'm one of the biggest believer that employees don't actually need to be micromanaged as long as you know that they are producing at the end of the day. I mean, that person should be good to go, right? Because someone is more likely to make more mistakes when they feel like someone is constantly watching them than when they can just be themselves and do their work, right? Repetition of the same thing, not being listened to. Exactly. So sometimes we speak to our supervisor or our subordinates or our co-workers, repeating the same thing over and over, and nobody actually listens. So you constantly saying the same thing over and over and over, and they constantly keep doing the same thing that you've just mentioned before. True, that all of that, including what I've mentioned, and a lot of other factors can actually cause stress, right? Relationship with colleagues, not being listened to, disrespect. I agree with you. So sometimes that's why it's important to have like a whole positive working environment, because sometimes the relationship we build with our colleagues can actually be toxic, right? And when people are not listening to you and when people are disrespecting you, that can be very stressful because you're trying to be this person, you're trying to tell people to do things in a particular way, but they're not listening to you. That can be very stressful. So thank you so much for your comments. I'm just going to read the last one, which says that too many meetings, not leaving time to do the work, delegating and not getting right feedback, letting you want to do the work by yourself. And this is something that management never understands, that sometimes the meetings are way too many, right? And sometimes we are not even getting to proper solutions in those meetings, right? And at the end of the day, they expect us, right, to be able to meet our deadlines. But we have taken up so much time that it's difficult to meet deadlines, right? So I definitely agree with all of you guys. Thank you so much for commenting. Let's just quickly move before I run out of time. So I'm quickly going to speak about, so now that we've mentioned a few factors that can influence stress, what then happens when we are stressed? So there are symptoms in you that shows that I'm actually stressed, right? We do have physical signs, we do have mental signs, right? As I'm going through these signs, I just want you guys to kind of see if you've experienced or you've identified some of them in yourself before, right? Or you are currently experiencing some of the symptoms, okay? Right, so the first sign being poor quality sleep, okay? So definitely if you stress, you don't sleep enough, and if you don't sleep enough, you tired the next day, and then you're stressing more again, okay? High blood pressure. So especially comes from chronic stress. So chronic stress can lead to an increase in blood pressure, which can put a strain on the heart and increase the risk of heart disease, okay? So when you're always stressed, this compromises your immune system. So your stress can weaken your immune system, right? Making the body more susceptible to illnesses and infection, and also you're more likely to catch things like colds, flus, and other health issues, right? And also panic attacks. So stress can trigger sudden and intense feeling of fear, anxiety, and panic attacks, right? So these attacks can constantly be accompanied by physical symptoms such as rapid heart rate, sweating, trembling, or shortness of breath, general aches and pain. So stress can cause tension in muscles. So this is one of my own symptoms. So it can cause this tension in muscles, right? And also leads to this headaches or back aches or neck pain or any other physical discomforts. For me, it's mostly migraines. So whenever I'm stressed, I'm constantly getting these migraines, right? And also just tension in my muscles. Also fatigue, you are constantly tired, exhausted, right? So these are just some of the physical symptoms, okay? So then we move on to the mental signs of stress, right? So if you identify this in someone, if you identify this in yourself, this person or you might just be stressed out, okay? So feeling sad, down, or hopeless, right? And falling into that hole of depression, right? So when you experience stress for such a long time, you kind of fall into that depression state, right? Anxiety. So stress can trigger feelings of anxiety, which can be characterized by excessive worry. You are nervous, you are restless, right? Confusion or feeling of being overwhelmed. Sometimes you just feel you're confused or you're just overwhelmed with just so much to do, okay? Difficulty retaining information. So at times when you are constantly experiencing stress, stress can actually impair your cognitive functioning, right? So this makes it harder to remember things or learn new information, right? So this can impact your ability to also definitely perform tasks effectively, and in the end leading to frustration and just further stress, you know. Then mood swings. So stress can cause individuals to experience rapid shift in their emotions. You can feel irritable, angry, agitated, and just sometimes just sad or withdrawn. So as looking at the symptoms that I've, or the signs that I've just mentioned, could you guys kind of just in the comment section again mention some of the signs that you do experience, or whenever you're stressed out? Can be physical signs, can be mental signs. So what are some of the signs that you normally see in yourself that you kind of know, okay, I'm actually stressed out? Can be some signs that are also not here because we do have a lot of signs. I'll start with myself. So whenever I'm stressed out, I get this non-stop migraines, right? My muscles are very tense. I can feel it, and then I also get this these back aches, and I'm just tired all of the time. Okay, so someone from human resources also experience the same symptoms or signs as me, which is definitely migraines and muscle tension. Okay, is there anyone else that kind of shows some signs and then they just realize, okay, I'm stressed out. Now I'm stressed out. Just in the comment section, or you can just unmute yourself. Okay. Okay, so we have, okay, high blood pressure. So definitely true, stress can cause high blood pressure in individuals, right? So yeah, thank you guys, thank you for just mentioning those particular signs. Someone mentioned that they are irritable, okay, and oh, this is a new one eye flickering. Wow. Yes, these things can happen because stress kinds of have an impact on your physical body, right? On your muscles, on your everything, as well as your mental capacity, right? So that can also happen to if you're like really stressed out. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. So let's just quickly move on to the next part. So this is kind of my one of the quotes that I just found. So it says that our brains were not designed for constant notifications, endless channels, multiple apps, 40-hour weeks, plus 5 social events, text messages, emails, and WhatsApp. So no wonder we feel overwhelmed, frazzled, and on high alert. So let's slow down, turn off, reschedule, right? Re-energize whenever we can. So it's time to give our minds the quiet and the rest that we need. So I mean, nowadays you constantly on high alert, right? I mean, you're getting WhatsApps, you're getting text messages, you quickly check on your social media platform what is happening on Facebook, Instagram. At the same time, you still have your work to do. At the same time, you still need to give attention to your personal people. You know, there's just a lot happening nowadays, right? And our brains were actually not meant, you know, or designed for all of this all at once. Okay. Katupose says, sorry guys, I have to leave this meeting. Okay, no problem. We are going to share the recording, so you can always listen on the recording. But thank you so much for joining. All right. So we've spoken about the factors that kind of influence stress in the workplace. So we also do have factors influencing individual perceptions of stress. Remember in the beginning I said what you might consider as stressful, the next person might not consider it as stressful as you, right? So there are different factors that influence individual perceptions of stress, right? So the first one being sex, right? So we all know that sometimes, or most of the times, women may be more likely than men to acknowledge and admit their feelings of workplace stress, right? So research suggests that men and women react differently to stresses, right? This can be due to hormonal differences and also obviously societal expectations, right? So for instance, women tend to seek social support when stressed, while men might just like internalize their stress or exhibit a more competitive behaviors, right? Then we have age, right? So different age groups, for instance, baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Generation Z. So depending on which generation you are, we might have distinct values and expectation when it comes to coping with stress, right? So what might stress out one generation might not affect another the same way, right? So for instance, baby boomers might be stressed because of the new rapid technological changes happening in the environment, right? However, millennials and Generation Z might actually not find this as stressful, okay? Oh no, it's fine now, but I'll share the recording so you can always listen to the recording, but thank you for joining. Then also health. So a person who is in good mental and physical health is more likely to withstand short-term stress compared to someone who's already suffering from some chronic health issue, right? And also personality types, right? So introverted, I would say introverted individuals might feel more stress in highly social or public situations, while extroverts might find them energizing, right? So you'll be able to see whether you're an introvert, extrovert, or an ambivert, right? Some things might just stress you out compared to others, right? And also type A personalities. So type A personalities are considered to be driven, competitive, and ambitious, right? So they might experience stress due to perfectionism, right, and high expectations that they impose on themselves. So type A's are these people that are very driven, very competitive, and they put so much pressure on themselves, right? So they are more likely to experience stress compared to type B personalities, which are more laid back and are better at pacing themselves. Okay. So moving on, do we have any questions at this particular time? Are you guys still there? Can I get some thumbs up? You guys still there? Can you guys still hear me? All right, awesome. Let's quickly move on. Right, so here's the thing, right? So fine, you're stressed out, you're constantly stressed out. What then happens if you are stressed out for such a long time, or if you're always stressed out? What is the consequence of stress? This is then what we call, you get into a state of burnout. This is then when you get into burnout, right? So burnout is a state of exhaustion. Someone suffering from burnout will feel as though they have nothing left to give, not simply on a physical level, but also in an emotional sense. So this is burnout is the consequence of too much stress, right? So a key warning sign of impending burnout is elevated levels of chronic stress. So feeling little, so when you are burnt out, you feel little variation in your mood or your assessment of the day or your week. So your days are just the same, right? Your mood is constantly low. You have no motivation at all, right? And you somehow experiencing all those physical or mental symptoms that we've just spoken about earlier, and you can somehow see a shift in your personality, right? So you are this bubbly, energetic person. All of a sudden, you're just this person who keeps to themselves in their own shell and just really in a low mood, right? So you also experience a loss of vital vision. So, and the deal here is that you don't get to this stage where you are burnt out, right? So that's when we need to come out with at least coping strategies or interventions that actually assist us to prevent burnout, right? So burnout is preceded by escalating feelings of stress, and the most important element in preventing burnout is good stress management. So what is stress management? So stress management simply refers to any action that is carried out with the intention of limiting the extent and effects of stress. So stress management is just interventions or solution or things that you somehow do to manage your stress level or to prevent stress, right? So that it cannot go to the state of burnout, okay? Right, so who in your organizations, in the companies, who then is responsible, right? Who has that unique responsibility to ensure that stress management is practiced consistently? So I would say all of us have that responsibilities. I'll start with the board members and the CEOs or the directors or the big leaders in our organization. So these are the top leaders of the company. Their responsibilities is to make big decisions that affect the entire organization. So what they need to do is create an environment where people feel supported and not overwhelmed, right? So they should set the tone by promoting a healthy work-life balance and ensuring that the company goals are achievable without putting too much pressure on the employees. Yes, there's a strategy, yes, there are goals, but they should also make sure that these goals are actually achievable without putting so much pressure on the employees. Like we have the right amount of employees, the workload is fine for everyone, right? We don't have someone doing so much work compared to other people, right? Finding that balance, right? Then we have health and safety manager or wellness manager, wellness practitioners. They have so many names, right? So these are like health coaches, right, of the company. So they're in charge of making sure that the workplace is a healthy and happy place. They can organize activities like yoga classes, workshop on stress reduction, and provide resources for mental health or mental well-being, right? So, I mean, human resource practitioners can also have a description of a health and safety manager or a wellness manager or a wellness practitioner, right? So they can also do these same similar things just to make sure the health of the organization is kind of on point, right? Then we have line managers. So line managers are the ones who directly supervise now a group of employees. So they should be like this supportive coaches, right? So their role is to assign tasks reasonably. So make sure you assign those tasks reasonably, provide clear directions, because sometimes you give a person something to do, but you know directions, instruction as to how they're actually supposed to do this, right? And also just listen to the people, okay? Employees. So these are people, okay, so obviously who do like the rest of the work. So their responsibility is to communicate. So if you're feeling stressed, communicate with your line manager, communicate with your HR practitioner or with your wellness manager, right? I mean, it doesn't have to communicate so that you guys can come up with solutions or intervention that kind of assist you in the long run, right? Because sometimes you stress because you're not performing well, because you're actually just not competent, right? So this is where you work on specific trainings and skills that you can get to actually get yourself to the level that you're supposed to be, okay? Right. So what are the steps that we can take to actually manage our stress levels within the workplace? The first one being track your stressor, right? So this is where you actually identify what are the factors, or what is it that actually stresses me in the workplace, right? It can really be anything. It can be your colleagues, like we've mentioned earlier. It can be your the deadlines. It can really be anything. So this is where you journal everything, record it, and then you somehow start finding the patterns amongst your stressor. For instance, whenever I get so many things at the same time, I somehow instantly my headaches they start, my migraines they start. Instantly I'm anxious about everything, right? And then instantly I go into this mode of like a freeze mode, like where do I start, right? And then I try to juggle everything at the same time, which is actually not the right thing to do, because that's when you don't complete everything, right? So what I've decided to do is sometimes my perception of how stressful something is just me exaggerating it, right? Sometimes, so what I've decided to do is just not think of something as stressful, but rather think of it just as a challenge, right? Okay, and also rather not like thinking too much about something, right? But just getting everything done step by step, right? But we do have a lot of stressful situations, stressful triggers, and sometimes that may not work for each and every one of us. So we all need to identify what is it that can work for me, you know. So another step is to develop healthy responses, right? So you know, the minute you perceive something as stressful, what you do is you try to fight that stress, let's say with buying yourself some fast food, perhaps having some drinks or anything really. But what you can do is probably make some healthy choices when you feel the tension rise, right? Do some exercises, get enough sleep, minimize stimulating activities, okay? So instead of letting stress overwhelm you, try to respond in a healthy manner, right? Take a short break, practice deep breathing, right? Deep breathing, or find a quick distraction to just calm you down, okay? Another one is establish boundaries, right? So in today's digital world, it's easy to feel pressure to be available 24/7 or 24 hours a day, right? So you need to find that balance between your work and your life, right? So so it's also important to know your limits and not to take on too much. Sometimes it's okay to say no. Sometimes you can say you just don't have the capacity. You already have so much to do, right? So set boundaries so you don't feel pressured at work all the time, and your personal time matters as well, okay? Right. And then take time to recharge, right? To avoid negative effects of chronic stress and burnout, we need time to replenish and to return to our pre-stress level of functioning, right? This is where you take off days, just switching off your phone the entire day and just focusing on yourself on a particular Saturday, right? Or your family. Those vacation days are very important, you know, those booking yourself at a nice lodge and just relaxing for that 1 or 2 days before you join the you come back to work. You know, it's very important to do all those things, right? um, just make sure you have moments to relax during your work day as well. Step away from your desk, stretch a bit, or just do something that you enjoy for a little while, okay? Right, and then learn how to relax, okay? So meditation, deep breathing exercises, right? Just taking a few minutes of each day to just explore in your hobbies, something that you really enjoy doing, okay? Can also assist you in just being able to manage your stress more efficiently, okay? So just learn how to unwind, okay? Try to discover techniques that will work for you, okay? Perhaps you can listen to music, like I said before, doing a hobby, okay? So just find some activity to help you unwind after a stressful day. Right, another one, also an important one, talk to your supervisor, okay? So sometimes just approach your supervisor, have an open discussion with them, right? Not to lay out complaints, but to just somehow tell them this is what you're going through and you're finding difficulties in managing the situation or in managing your stress level. So you both of you can come together and come up with solution or interventions to actually work on your stress levels, right? Okay, so if your work stress becomes too much, have a conversation with your supervisor, let them know what is bothering you, and also discuss potential solutions together, okay? Um, seek, get some support, seek support. So don't hesitate to reach out to your friends, that family member that you trust, or just that colleague that you constantly talk to that you trust, right? So speak to anyone. Sometimes talking about it can make you feel better, right? Go for a counseling session, talk to a psychologist. It's really okay to do some of these things, okay? So those are just like some of the steps that you can take, but there's like a lot of things that you can do, and a lot of personalized things or interventions that work for me, but might not necessarily work for you. So you have to find which one works for you. Um, are you guys still there? So, it's awkwardly so quiet. Are you guys still there? Do you guys have any questions? Am I making sense? Okay, so I see some thumbs ups. Right, thank you. Thank you guys. So these are just some of the tips on managing work stress, right? So organize your work day. So when you come into the office, This is when you do your to-do list, right? You prioritize which is more important, which will take lesser time, right? Prioritize and then just work according to your to-do list, right? So it feels so good when you scratch that one thing off that you've just done during the day, right? So organize your day, right? Exercise more, find time during the week or weekend to just do some sorts of exercise. Go hiking on a Saturday morning. Go to the gym if you love the gym, or just do some setups in your own home, right? Eat healthy food if you, as much as you can, right? Get enough sleep, right? Get your 8 hours of sleep. Sometimes it's impossible, but just try to get as much sleep as you can so you don't feel too tired the next day, which might even stress you out more, right? Avoid being a perfectionist. I mean, it's good that you're a perfectionist. It's lovely, right? Sometimes we cannot avoid it, but sometimes it's also okay to make a mistake here and there, you know, because the minute that you perceive yourself to be a perfectionist, that's when you put so much pressure on yourself and everything needs to be in the correct manner. And the minute one thing goes out of the way, stress, right? Positive self-reflection. So this is when you start looking back. Look back at your week, right? On a Friday, look back at your week. What are all the positive things that I did throughout the week, right? What are some of the great things that I did or that I accomplished, or my goals at work that I actually achieved, right? This is where you start concentrating more on the positive than all the negative things that have happened throughout the week, okay? So try and find some positive stuff that actually happened and concentrate on those ones and feel proud of yourself, you know? Also, learn to tell people no, right? That one colleague that's always asking you to assist them with something, sometimes it's okay to say no because you also have your own work and you also don't have that capacity, right? Okay, so let's quickly do an exercise. So remember you guys shared some of the factors that kind of influence or kinds of the factors that led to you being stressed or influence your stress levels, right? So in the beginning we did identify that, right? So I've mentioned a few things that you guys can do. I've mentioned a few tips that we can work on, but still there are a lot of ways in which we do manage our own stresses, right? And so what I want us to do now, just in the comment section, remember those stresses that you have mentioned, what is it that you actually do to counteract or to manage your stresses in that situation? What is it? How do you manage your stress? So it's always good to see what other people can do, right? So we can also just see if that will also work for us, right? So there are a lot of different coping strategies and we can all learn from one another. So what is it that you actually do to cope with your stresses, and what can we learn from one another today? So just in the comment section, what is it that you do to cope with your stresses? We have about 7 minutes. You can unmute yourself, we can talk about it, or you can just type in the comment section. I don't want to feel like I'm speaking to myself, so please talk to me, guys. So what is it that you do? I'll give you guys a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Give you guys a few more minutes, 2 more minutes. Okay, so we are learning from one another today. So we can obviously also use this coping strategies to also use them on ourselves, right? Like I said, it's always good to learn from other people. You never know what might work for you, right? There are all this bunch of research stuff, but technically, if you come back to the ground, you need to know like the real deal. What is it that works for people, okay? So according to Asteria, she says retail therapy, right? So retail therapy is one of her coping strategies. So I don't know a lot about retail therapy, but I mean, we can always just go research on it and see if it's something that will also work for us, right? Okay, so Natasha says she listens to calming music and taking a walk and exercising. So it's great. So this can also work for us. This can also work for you. Just to listen to music, take a walk, exercise, you know. You never know what might work for you, okay? Because sometimes you're experiencing this something that you don't have control over. What is stressing you out, you actually don't have control over, right? You can't change it. So sometimes you need some coping strategies to just, you know, keep yourself in a in that okay mood, right? So you don't fall down the pit hole of depression or burnout, right? So Rolinda says she normally plays gospel music, which calms her so much. So exactly, you can play some gospel music, you know. You can play some calming music, you know. Music is a good therapy for our minds. Then Lucy says she cry. Yes, I also cry sometimes. So she cries, just when you cry and then after you're done, you just feel like you've released so much pressure off yourself. She also goes shopping, right? Out best to take it all out. Okay, and also listens to music, right? So I mean, we can try out all of this stuff just to kind of see if this will actually work on us, because at the end of the day you need to identify your stresses, find a pattern, and then find interventions that are actually personalized to your stresses or to yourself that might actually work for you. Okay, exercise. Bianca says she exercise. Yeah, I mean, if your body is good and healthy, then your body is in a much better state in overcoming all the stresses, right? So great, thank you so much, guys. I really enjoyed all your comments, and I am grateful that you guys actually responded, because sometimes it feels like you're talking alone. So thank you so much. Do you guys have any questions at the moment in terms of stress? Okay, I'm just going to read the last two by Tuilika, which she exercise and journal. So good idea. I mean, exercise, journaling is writing. I mean, sometimes some people just, feels better when they write it all out, it just feels better when you put it all out there. Okay, so that is something that we can do as well. Bianca watches a nice movie. I also watch a nice movie or a nice series and just forget about all my problems for like that 1 hour. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you learned something today. It was an okay session. Thank you so much. If you guys don't have any questions, thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of the Wednesday. Oh, today's Wednesday, yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. So this is the end of our 1 hour session. Thank you.
Thank you.